Paul George there, saying his primary goal in free agency is to put himself in a position to win a championship, getting some advice from Dwayne Wade. Which team, Byron Scott? You heard him mention the Lakers. You heard him mention the staying with Russ and Oklahoma City. Kind of threw a few teams out. Oh, yeah, and these other teams, too.
You know, I love the fact that he said the Lakers first. That was a dream.
Right.
You know, his home team and everything. Then he tried to sprinkle in those other teams.
Right.
Try to, masquerade the whole thing. But we all know that's where Paul wants to be. He wants to be here in Los Angeles.
Byron Scott now has the roster count at 53 players.
It's like any play for the Lakers.
I'm just trying to help my boy Buck Rome, Magic Johnson, as you people know him. I know him as Buck Rome. I'm just trying to help him out, and Jeannie and Rob. These guys all want to be here in L.A. That's all I'm saying. So Paul, to me, is a no-brainer. I mean, he wants to be here. This has been a dream of his. And he wants to be here because he wants to win a championship. I understand that, but he knows he needs some other pieces to that puzzle.
Shall we say it together?
Okay.
He's coming, though. I'm telling you.
The best move is
Los Angeles.
I like Philadelphia as a fit.
Sorry, I thought you were arguing with him. Yes.
And I appreciate
Kevin and I are on the Philadelphia 76ers would be the best fit for Paul George bandwagon. But I have come to believe
as I've eyed,
that you
it's
and I
geographically undesirable for Paul.
Our voices
for whatever
in the
reason.
darkness. So that's not going to happen. And Byron, I hear you on saying, oh, gee, of course it's the Lakers. I think that assumption is certainly what people in Indiana were upset about. I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to say that. That has been the assumption, even as the Thunder have spent this last season lobbying him. I am not hearing it as a sure thing for the Lakers in any sense. In fact, I'm hearing a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder rumbling.
It was characterized to me by as the Thunder are rationally and guardedly optimistic. I think they're a very measured organization, but that I think for something we thought might have been a fait accompli, he's been saying he's wanted to play for the Lakers forever, that there's a real good chance that Paul George returns to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And what do you think of that choice, if that is his choice?
It's a really good organization. He doesn't have to do it for long term. He could sign, and I think Zach Lowe mentioned this yesterday, he gets his 10 year of service in a couple of years, 2 and an option. Mm-hmm. He'll still be a guy in his prime when it is over if he wants to reevaluate. But if he's comfortable there and, there's a little less glare, and again, it's a well-run organization.
And I agree with you about that. It is a well-run organization, but it takes away from everything he just talked about, which was winning a championship, wanting to be a champion. He's not going to win a championship in OKC. I don't care if he's with Russ and Carmelo. At this particular point, we saw what they did last year. Right. Obviously, when he's saying that there's still a chance of staying in OKC, it's because of his relationship with Russ. They did develop a very nice relationship over the season, so obviously he's very fond of Russell Westbrook, which I understand. I love Russ. I love the way he plays. I love the competitive nature that he has. But he understands the magnitude of being with a Laker organization. He understands what also comes along with that. And championships is what comes along with that. Now, it might not be this coming year, depending on how many of those guys they get, but in the next couple of years, this team will be back, this team being the Los Angeles Lakers, back up there where everybody's talking about them in contention for another championship.
And they do have flexibility going forward.
Absolutely.
That contract with Russell Westbrook.
Which the Thunder doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That is something to think about. And that kind of leads us to our next thing, which is if Paul George leaves the Thunder, that's a big if, perhaps could they consider a full rebuild and listen to offers for Russell Westbrook? According to Zach Lowe's mega free agency preview that came out last night, Zach writes, quote, Paul George leaving would at least raise the question of transitioning into a full-on rebuild, a teardown the likes of which Thunder fans have really never witnessed. That's certainly true since the team moved from Seattle. Sniffing out what Westbrook might fetch on the trade market, Zach can see that happening. Kevin, what do you think of this?
I think if Paul George left, it would be managerial malpractice for Sam Presti to at least not listen to see what he could get for Russell Westbrook. It would be a very expensive team, looking at a luxury tax payment, and what? Best prospect, a 6 seed, a 7 seed, an 8 seed?
Well, I mean, we know what Russ did on his own.
Right.
We've seen it.
And so,
that's assuming, by the way, Russ's athleticism stays where it was during his MVP season.
Right, and
which
look,
is a big assumption for 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road.
Yeah, guards, sometimes will fade. Sam Presti's a very rational decision maker, and I have no doubt that there would be a certain gauging of the market. And I'm sure done, and I wouldn't say in concert with Russell Westbrook, but certainly with the understanding that, look, the franchise's health is at stake. And look, there might be a certain point where Russell Westbrook might want to see another chapter. But I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But of course, it would be managerial malpractice for Sam Presti not to say, hey, what are the prospects of in this stage of life for this organization?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you because of the fact of the matter is that they're going to make the playoffs if Russ stays healthy. We've seen that,
right.
No matter what. I mean, this guy was able to carry that team 2 years ago, averaging a triple-double to the playoffs. But they're not going to get out of the first round. They're going to be, you said 6, 7, 8 seed. And I was thinking of this before the show, and I was like, 4 to 8. No, 5 to, you're probably right. It's probably 6 to 8, is where they're going to end up falling. And he's great enough to get you to that particular point, but that's it. After that, they're not going to get to the second round. So do you
I hear you.
think about
I hear
it?
the
You definitely gotta think
pragmatism.
about
I
it.
think all of these are completely right and correct NBA points. But if you are Oklahoma City and you have Russell Westbrook and he is connected to the fan base as he is popular as he is such a just fireball out on the court. Look, the reason Oklahoma City took such a chance on Paul George is because they have said they cannot get the free agent meetings in the summer that other teams tend to get. So they basically had to make a risky trade and give him a year-long free agency pitch, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but if you've got Russell Westbrook on the roster and you do have some playoff appearances you think in your future, even if it's not in the top half of the bracket, I don't know. I might stand pat on that.
You know what? And I do agree with you in this sense. I do think there's something to be said for being pretty good for a very long time. That market is attached to that star. Not everything needs to be championship and bust in this league. To allow a market to grow old with Russell Westbrook is not the worst consequence, particularly in a market that is smaller. So I hear you. I think sometimes we fetishize the championship or bust, and there's something inherently wrong with being a 48-win team for a pretty long time. The Memphis Grizzlies built quite a brand in their city, being pretty good for a pretty long time, sniffing a conference final, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. You just have to be realistic that his game will change as he ages.
Right, and he probably will never have more value than he does
does
right now.
now.
I mean, that's the other issue, right?
I don't know.